Senhor Presidente del Tribunal, senhoras e senhores membros del Tribunal, estimadas companheiras e companheiros, vou apresentar minha tese de doutorado subordinada a el tema Implicaciones tecnológicas y pedagógicas de las aulas virtuales síncronas en la enseñanza no presencial. Teniendo em consideração que estamos perante uma tese de doctorado com menção europeia, a legislação me permite hacerlo em uma língua de la comunidad. Todavía, considerando que a língua comum a todos os membros del tribunal é a língua inglesa, passo a apresentar meu trabalho em língua inglesa, contudo, as diapositivas serão passadas em castelhano e em inglês. The presentation of this project about technological and pedagogical aspects of using virtual classrooms in distance learning is divided in the following aspects: problems and research, objectives, theoretical approach, empirical studies, conclusions, and new lines of research. The problem of this research is about virtual classrooms and pedagogical and distance learning. The objectives of this research are analyzing the existence of technological and methodological aspects, comparing available virtual classrooms. Third, identifying the desirable and essential tools for working in distance teaching. Fourth, analysis of general aspects about their functioning. Theoretical fundamentation is based on several lines of research: technological evolution, methodological evolution and developments, the evolution of our students, the evolution of distance learning and teaching, what is e-learning today, and synchronous and asynchronous multimedia experience, institutional design models, and taxonomies. Let us see details about these aspects. On the theoretical foundation, first, synthesis of analysis of technological and methodological evolution. First of all, I would like to underline that virtual classrooms are not like virtual learning environments. Virtual learning environments are platforms to support our lessons, our classes, and they are used to be, or let's say, to deliver asynchronous content. Virtual classrooms are used to synchronous activities and tutoring. And these are the main subject of our project, and identify the difference between one and the other. About evolution, we can say that in 70 years we have evolved from a computer with the size of a room to very small, tiny computers, thousands and thousands of times more powerful, with fantastic software, wideband, stream video, optic fiber, Wi-Fi, internet, wireless, advanced software, virtual classrooms, and the revolution in teaching and learning process. Today, I can say that in 2010, a new revolution happened with the light equipments, iPads, Samsung platforms, tablet, PCs, and everything. Today, everything is different. New virtual classrooms with new challenging about teaching and learning. All of this has been followed with an enormous evolution from the methodological point of view, from behaviorism to constructivism, from the theory of multi-intelligence and learning styles from Gardner and Fleming, emotional intelligence and learning from Daniel Goleman, interactivity and interactivity, and learning from the learning from neurophysiologic learning process, according to research of Alcine Silva in LA University, and social learning and collaborative teaching, connectivism, from George Siemens. I could say that in 2 decades, we built up a knowledge and information society which connects cultures, countries, and civilizations in real time. In total, in 2000, Microsoft published a video about traditional classroom. I could say that what it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, we have several instruments, several tools based mainly in retroprojector and transparencies. But this was characterized as well what it would be in the future. And in the future, in that moment, 210 it was the future. Today, we have just overpassed this. But today, we can say that we have new technologies, computers all over, wireless, classrooms, and this is, let's say, a vision of the future, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. But in fact, the difference, it was what we can say, what it would be a new methodological approach. In fact, what it's today, we have some doubts about it. This is all true, but in fact, a great part of this. Today, we have a new challenge. And our challenge of today is about our students. How are our clients? I can say that today, our students are digital and multimodal learners, asking for more multimedia contents, more distance learning. Since very young, since very tiny children, they are using computers, interactive whiteboards, and many other things. But when we talk about distance learning, we can say that first references about distance learning, it was in 1840. And during more than 100 years, it was based only on correspondence courses up till 1970. But the big push, it was during the Second World War with Skinny, with the teaching machine. The second generation, it was in the 70s to the 80s with open universities. The third generation, it was a new challenge. In the 80s, we have cassette videos and TV schools, and with a very important progress in this, let's say, teaching at distance. But only in the 90s, we have a new element. With the evolution of the technology, we could start to talk about e-learning. But this e-learning became like what we can say a big misunderstanding. Because everybody is talking about e-learning, but some are talking about unidirectional teaching, some others are talking about asynchronous interactivity based on Web 2.0 concept, and in some other one they are using synchronous interactivity, multimedia, and virtual classrooms. This is, let's say, 3 aspects of the same reality, but in fact, everybody using the same word, e-learning. The question is, what have been doing during this period? About synchronous and asynchronous tools and multimedia contents. I can say that I started with Moratech virtual classrooms more than 10 years ago, and I used that for the first time. We have tried several other experiences, in order to find some better solutions, some better approaches. But our conclusion is that never try to reinvent the wheel. We have decided to put our focus of work on production of video contents. In this moment, we have already produced more than 500 videos in pedagogical format, and these are published in our platforms, and some other we have started in 2 years ago, let's say, publishing in our YouTube channel, and today we have more than 60,000 views. This means complete view of our videos, and this was 1 week ago, and every day is increasing. About instructional design models and taxonomies, we have made as well our analysis, and the models we have found out, they are models for structuring e-contents, learning models for problem solving, learning models for direct instruction, and so on and so on. But in fact, no one model is covering synchronous activities. This means a gap. As well, it's happening concerning or related to taxonomies from Bloom in the middle of the 20th century, as well as Gagné and Heywood and Moore in the end of the 20th century. They compare and summarize the previous taxonomies, but nothing is again related with synchronous activities. About field studies, what have we done? Field studies, we have, let's say, compare synchronous virtual classroom based on hardware and software, and in order to comparing the technological profile of virtual classrooms. And another, we find out it was necessary to develop a methodology of comparing based on customer satisfaction evaluation model. And in the other hand, we have made analysis of the performance of virtual classrooms and good practices. We have evaluated quantitative analysis in a survey and qualitative aspects, making interviews and debates with experts in several groups. The method we have used, it was based on evaluating and analyzing the bibliographic documentation available, and online survey, and interviews and discussions with experts and focus groups. This means a very important strategy that we have used, because if we use only bibliographic references, we would be, let's say, the evolution is so fast that after publishing everything is a little bit overpassed. So listening the opinion of experts in this area, it was very important to, let's say, to make updated important conclusions and results about this aspect. And we have defined several milestones in the preparation of this project in order to prepare a primary questionnaire. After evaluating all the, let's say, bibliographic documentation, we made our conclusions, and let's say we start to make the pre-questions. We have submitted these questions to experts, 17 experts, which was, let's say, the main objective was evaluating, let's say, if it was clear and if it was some other should be adjusted. And finally, we have, let's say, make all these questions preferable. These questions were made in English, Spanish and Portuguese, and with the focus of profile virtual classrooms about online tutoring using virtual classrooms, results and best practices. This means that after we have the definition of the sample, we have submitted to a jury, and we have started our inquiry, obtaining results, and these results were treated according to SPCS methodologies. So we have used these questions directed to online inquiry, online survey, debates with focus groups and interviews. And this gives us a crossed information to evaluate and to lead us to the conclusions. And about our survey, we have had about 117 answers. Only 85 we consider valid conclusions, and for the validation of answers we use Alpha-Krumbach methodology, and with the feasibility of 0.93, which means a high performance. About debates, we have had more than 30 experts from different European countries, North America, Canada, Latin America, and one from China as well. These experts gave us a very important and valid information to enrich our work and our conclusions. About our field research to compare virtual classrooms. When we are comparing synchronous virtual classrooms, what are we talking about? I can say that we are comparing between virtual classrooms on PC and hardware. For virtual classrooms based on PC, we need only 200 kbps and no installation difficulties, flexible, usable, low initial cost, software updates with no cost, and a wide range of complete tools. In hardware-based classrooms, we need at least 700 kbps. Installation is only possible with the support. Usable only with the equipped rooms. Costs are higher, and so on and so on. The survey and experts' opinions. If we compare PC-based virtual classrooms with hardware-based with virtual classrooms, we have to understand that under the terms of mobility and interactivity and teachers and students. The results are, we have had an option of 73.7 in favor of PC virtual classrooms and only 26 in favor of hardware-based virtual classrooms. What is the opinion of experts? About George Siemens. George Siemens said that PC-based virtual classrooms are much better. They allow us to support our students when they need and where they are and want. It is efficient and practical. About the opinion of Norbert Pecheler, co-director of Education Science Department at London University. Mobile communication technologies based on PC are much superior than hardware-based. They are portable, flexible, and this is the guideline I'm using in my university. David Richardson from Linnaeus University in Sweden. I must say that heavy equipment is a dying equipment, and overpassed. Johnny Viten from Loyola University. I'm in favor of PC-based virtual classrooms because they are flexible and can be used at any place. José Azevedo from Pro-Rector of Azores University. I believe there is one positive point and a negative point. Normally teachers don't know how to use computers and they use them as a traditional classrooms. In the other hand, the very negative aspect is it's always necessary a team to support and make it work, which means a plus on cost. If we compare different classroom based on PC, we have used the results of our inquiry, and the most used virtual classrooms, it was Maratec, Illuminate, Adobe Connect, Open Meetings, Live Learning, WYSIWYG, and DIM. Of course, this study was made in 2008, and in 2009, Maratec was sold to Google. This means that part of the share of the market concerning to Maratec, it was divided between Illuminate and Adobe Connect. We can say the larger part was transferred to Adobe Connect. About the analysis we have made, we have compared these technological aspects of these virtual classrooms. Part of them, they are property paid virtual classrooms, and some other are open source and freeware using virtual classrooms. Our conclusion is this: it was necessary to develop a methodology to compare them. In fact, we have developed a customer satisfaction evaluation model, which is a general aspect of methodologies, and we have adjusted it to evaluate virtual classrooms. What have we made about this? We selected 22 criteria to compare, like, let's say, quality of the audio, quality of the video, and all the other facts used in the virtual classrooms. We take the criteria, we have used a ponderation of factors 1 to 5, and this means that what is more important, audio or chat, blackboard or video, and so on, and we just pointed them from 1 to 5, and after we have compared one virtual classroom A with virtual classroom B. The total amount of points that gives us the idea of quality, relative quality, let's say. We have compared, based on these methodologies, Adobe and Illuminate. We have found out that 12 of the criteria were very similar about the use and of the bandwidth required, screen sharing, remote control, and so on and so on. But we find as well 10 of these criteria in favor of Adobe Connect. Preparation of sections, create classrooms backgrounds, the sound quality, the video quality of the participants, the number of participants, slideshow, and so on and so on. And all of this is presented in our thesis document in details. If we consider the factors of ponderation between Adobe and Illuminate, we have calculated or arrived to a final numbers which was 81.7 of quality in Adobe and 58.2 in quality in Illuminate. Although both are showing good quality, but some favors on adding. About another field research, describing desirable and essential tools, and analysis of general aspects of functioning and good practices. The question is, what tools should include a synchronous virtual classroom? I should say that audio was the most important, video, slideshow, chat, and we have, let's say, 4 groups. Audio is the most important concerning quality and existence, video and slideshow in second level, chat and screen share third, and screen for comments and remote control in fourth level. We could find out that the standardized, let's say this in, let's say, these levels. About the opinion of experts, José Siemens told us the most important thing it was audio, slideshow, screen, chat these facilities are absolutely necessary. Although video, it was not so important from the pedagogical or didactic point of view, but this is very important from the socialization point of view. From your experience, do you think you could do the same thing, activities in a synchronous virtual classroom as it is in a presence classroom? We have no time to present all details, but we give you a very concise idea about this aspect. We can say that 85% they say that they can do all or the most of the activities in a virtual classroom as they do in a presence classroom. Some others say about 10% a few and about 4.3% no. But some others say that they can do even better things in a virtual environment. We have made the same question in a different angle, which means, do you think it is difficult to convert a presence classroom into a virtual classroom? We can realize that we have about the same number, which means that we have about 84% that says yes, or easy, or it's possible, and we have about 16% that it says it's difficult or quite impossible. The opinion of Norbert Pecheler about this aspect is it's perfectly possible that we expect to obtain the same. But he says that just transpose a presence lesson into virtual lesson, it doesn't work. This is a very important comment that we should underline. About, do you think that online tutoring is absolutely necessary for distance learning? From the inquiry, we can say that 86% says yes, it is absolutely necessary, and only 40% says that no. David Richardson from Linnaeus University says, I should say that 99% is yes. It's impossible to imagine any kind of distance learning without the use of online tutoring. Another question, do you think the asynchronous interactive activities like wikis, forums, jobs or other integrated in LMS are enough for adequate tutoring? 65% say that it's absolutely necessary the use of synchronous activity, and only 35% says that they became satisfied with asynchronous activities. Manuel Benito, director of virtual campus in Basque University, he says, I think distance tutoring tools require a wise combination of synchronous and asynchronous resources. Heredia from E-Learning Institute of California says, virtual classrooms have an enormous added value because they enable working in a social and interactive, let's say, activities in distance and learning environment. Another question we had in our survey is related with 3.0 generation. How do you consider the importance of the synchronous virtual classrooms in interactivity, socialization and connectivism? Norbert Pecheler says, the goal will be a paradigm shift in the process of building and transfer knowledge, where the focus is on supporting the process of knowledge acquisition and determination of transfer of knowledge itself. And about group work. About group work, we can have the opinion of Stefan Bedin from We Support in Sweden. I must say that this is one of the key factors for the success. About this, João Lima says as well more or less the same thing. Group work is a tool to minimize isolation and enrich the learning process. Another question. Do you think that all the virtual classrooms should be permanently aimed at teaching traditional distance format or direct tutoring activities, presentation of students' work, and so on and so on? David Richardson says, I cannot understand how some people use virtual classrooms to teach traditional lessons. In a traditional concept, I should say that this is absolutely necessary to do it. About the comment of importance of attending in virtual classroom from anywhere. Theo, director of multimedia department at Innsbruck University, says, my choice goes in direction of web interfaces that integrate the ability to offer audio, slides, and other features. I do not think the video presenter is absolutely necessary, but audio synchronized represents an interesting potential. Another question. What you should recommend as good practices in virtual environment? Filipe Carrera from Lisbon University says, I should say that the most difficult thing is not to use a virtual classroom from the technological point of view. What is difficult is to change habits and methods. You should be a motivator, dynamizer, catalyzer of learning process. And Perry Marx says, teachers must have essential skills in ICTs and recommended skills, depending on the level of teaching and specific contents being taught by you. Finally, George Siemens says, one of the most important things are teachers training in new technologies and new methodologies. Second, teachers training in new technologies and new methodologies. And third, teaching trainers in new technologies and new methodologies. This drives us to good practices. And these good practices to good quality of teaching and learning. And according to a general opinion of all experts we have listened to, all of them emphasize the importance of teachers' qualities and skills. About conclusions. Related to the first objective, analysis, a synthetic analysis of technological and methodological aspects. When we talk about e-learning, we have been talking about computer-based learning, distributed learning, distance learning, web-based learning, internet-based learning, and B-learning. So we evolved from e-learning to B-learning, and from B-learning to D-learning, digital learning, and learning. If we compare the generations of e-learning, we can say that we have evolved from e-learning 1.0, just delivering contents in PDF formats, and nothing much more than that. Students should learn. But we find immediately that blended, it was absolutely necessary. Presence and distance learning. The second generation was based in the concept of Stefan Downes already, with an important focus in interactivity, but asynchronous interactivity. In the third stage, e-learning 3.0, George Siemens presented a new concept of connectivism, mobility, and as well multimedia contents. This means that B-learning is much more blended learning and asynchronous and synchronous activities. which means that synchronous activity can be made in presence and distance environment. We can say today that e-learning is a teaching process supported in electronic media, distributed contents in multiple formats, and interactive web technologies, asynchronous and synchronous in distance or presence teaching. And if we compare, let's say, the available virtual classrooms, we can say the virtual classrooms based on PC are much efficient, flexible, cheaper, and they have a lot of, let's say, tools available. If we compare them and eliminate, we have found out, according to the customer satisfaction evaluation model, that this is, let's say, Adobe, a plus in favor of Adobe. And concerning the third objective, describe desirable and essential tools, we find out that the most important tool is audio, video and slideshows in parallel, chat and screen sharing in the same level, and remote control as well important. And related with the pedagogical activities and, let's say, and good practices. About the forming of the same technique methods, we have to say that large majority of activities can be done also in presence and distance environment. Only labs are not possible to make in distant environment. When we're changing from a presence in a distance teaching, we are in the presence of different methodologies approaches. It's not an easy task, moving from a classroom environment to a distance learning environment. A virtual classroom is not a replication of a classroom environment with technological tools. It is much more than that. You must use a new semantics, a new story, a new rhythm, and use multimedia contents, which is not normally used in traditional classrooms. Both require substantially different approaches to be done well. Important work is necessary to adapt and adjust. And presence lessons, if you have used them before, they are a good base for improving the quality in distance learning. But the most important thing are teacher skills. About online tutoring, is it absolutely necessary? No doubt. Online tutoring, synchronous, is absolutely necessary. Just using wikis, forums, jobs and so on in asynchronous format, it's not enough. We have to introduce synchronous activities as well, which means virtual classrooms. And group work. Group work is an important tool to avoid isolation and abandon of our students from our courses. What shall we do in our virtual classrooms? I should say that we should monitoring activities, presentations of students, interactive discussions, answers to questions, and all of this, let's say, instead of replicating traditional classrooms into virtual environment. How to present contents asynchronous in multimedia format? If we are presenting a subject, let's say, if we are presenting a subject in a class, students doesn't need to be present in the same time. The learners can attend to the presentation wherever they are and whenever they need it, on demand, and repeat it in case they didn't understand perfectly the presentation. Synchronous assistance add no value to the learning process. Contents can be delivered asynchronously via web in video format. supporting documents for further discussions, and the virtual classroom should be used to an interactive discussion and reflection. About good practices. Let's say training of teachers in new technologies and skills of new methodologies are essential and recommended. Doesn't matter to be in presence or distance teaching. These are essential for the quality of the student.
In fact, in our thesis document we have reported many other good practices, but we have no time to be presenting all of them in here.
But if we go back to 2001 and remember what Rosenberg said in that period, he said that in the future, it will happen a more radical revolution than e-learning. It will be the disappearance of the e. It will be just left learning. And this is very important today, because it doesn't matter if we are in presence or distance teaching, learning is the target. But the main question is, are we prepared for the future? The answer will not be mine. The answer, it will be from our sons, granddaughters and sons, and grand-granddaughters. From them, we will listen the answer to our doubts of today. New lines of research for the future. A new model based on a new instructional model that will include synchronous activities, unlike tutoring, collaborative remote activities, and group work, continuous formative assessment and evaluation, and all of this should be included in a new model, as well as new taxonomies that will complement the taxonomies of Bloom, Gagne, and Moore, which include the synchronous perspective of teaching and learning. 3 other lines: the use of virtual classrooms for deaf students, the use of virtual environments like CD, moves and Second Lives, which will be quite important and motivating in education, and the new skills for teachers in the school of the future. About each one of these subjects, we have already made some research which are available in the URL presented. Thank you very much for your attention, and a big thank you for the supervisors of our thesis, Professor Florentino, Belázques and Sixto Cubo, and many other colleagues that we have emphasized only a few, like Connie Erickson, David Richardson, George Siemens, Luís Dias, Norbert, Pecheler, Pedro, Veiga, Paulo Pinto, Sibyl Carrera, Pruden, Theo, Xabier, Basogain, and the last but not the least, my family, and all others that have collaborated with us. Thank you very much to all.